Our final parting tip or takeaway for sure from Scandinavians is...
I totally forgot what I was supposed to say.
Celebrate the everyday?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you start it? Why don't you do number 5?
I'm nervous. I have to set it up.
Hey guys, welcome back to the House of Valentina. I'm Valentina and my husband Jack is joining us. And that's because it is one of the best weeks ever. It is Scandinavian week.
Yay! So people ask all the time, I'm gonna ask it and you give me the answer. Of all the places you've lived, what is your favorite place?
Oh, everywhere.
Wrong.
Each place was really special.
Wrong.
Scandinavia.
Exactly.
I can barely even talk without like tearing up. Like I loved living there so much that people they'd say, why do you love it so much? And I'm like, because it's like heaven on earth. It really is. Like I don't have to wait to die and go to heaven because I have found it on earth. I mean, the Danes are supposedly the happiest people on the planet.
Yes. Because when we first landed there, they serve hot dogs and chocolate milk in the airport. Why wouldn't you be the
What's
happiest?
not to love? And
of course.
They have magazine racks full of the coolest magazines on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have these magazines. Look, you've got cool, pretty recipes and really awesome rooms in here. I mean, oh my gosh.
And we lived there for 6 years, just so you know. So to kind of put some perspective on it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that at the end of 6 years, we weren't like, okay, we're ready for somewhere else. It was like, oh.
Yeah, it was the hardest thing ever to leave. It was like, yeah.
We mourned.
Oof, can't talk about it.
We mourned. It's still hard. It's a very sensitive subject. The reason that we are so excited about this is because we fell in love with Scandinavia and we love Scandinavian design. We love Scandinavian food. We are probably the world's biggest fans of Scandinavia. I don't know how you could possibly be a bigger fan. So
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed French Week because now that's gone. And now we're going to talk about the subject that is definitely closest to our hearts. It's the place that it really did. It stole our heart. There are so many things that you should definitely include in your home that are very Scandinavian, but we're going to try to narrow it down just a little bit today.
To 600. No, 5. 5. We're going to do 5.
500?
500.
Yeah.
We're going to do 5. Okay, this is impossible. It's like taking an encyclopedia and saying 2 sentences. So, but we're going to try. So let's do 5 things that you can steal from the Scandinavians.
5 things that you should definitely steal from the Scandinavians. Okay,
Yes.
Number 1, definitely, absolutely blend really modern, clean lines with something very rustic. They nail this style over and over. And if you're not really sure what that means, look at our kitchen.
Yes. These rooms where there's this great, amazing combination of modern and rustic. We've talked about this a little bit before, but in Denmark, they take it up a level.
They really, really know how to use like flat front cabinets and put a really worn, handmade vase sitting next to it. They really understand how, and even the rustic vase, I think a lot of times, even the items that do have a rustic patina to them, things that feel warm and earthy, there's still something modern about those too.
Yeah.
They really know how to mix those things together, things that may be smooth but then something rough with it, but they just nail it in a certain way.
Yeah.
The room, sometimes they'll have ornate designs like on the ceilings and everything, and then they'll put like a really clean lined sofa with it. And
they'll set up, like, you'll go over someone's house for coffee and they'll have their Royal Copenhagen mugs out, sitting on an incredibly modern, shiny white table.
Marble.
And then underneath that is rustic hardwood floors that aren't even like shiny.
Yeah.
So it's this great combination that you get of, classic and traditional and yet organic and rustic all at the same time.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then what it will do is it'll make your home feel very chic, but it will also keep it feeling very cozy.
Yeah.
And anytime I ask my Danish friends, like, I really want to buy a rustic table for our breakfast room. Ours is very sentimental, which is why we haven't switched it out. But they're like, oh, you need a rustic element to go with your like smooth chairs.
Yeah.
So that's literally always their advice. And I think it's cool. I love it.
Yeah,
you
me
guys
too.
can let us know what you guys think. Number 2 is that Scandinavians know how to really mix high and low end. And when I say low end, I mean like a rock. I really mean that. They'll take a really, really expensive vase, and then they'll go and let their kids pick flowers from the garden, or they'll gather up little branches from their walk.
Yeah.
We took so many walks in the woods when we lived in Denmark. It was what everybody does. It's a thing that they do on the weekends, is they go for their Sunday walk, and they'll bring things home and put them in this vase. And so they're always doing that. It's not just the vase and the flowers. They'll have a really expensive piece of furniture that was an investment piece for them, and then they'll line up their kids' rocks on it, or a stick that they brought home from daycare or from school, and they just...
It really is it's good news and bad news for your checkbook, because some things they do go like relatively cheap, or they'll go to a flea market or whatever, but then other things they actually do invest in.
Yeah.
And so it's neither one. I think sometimes we have a tendency in design to be polarized, either everything is vintage and hand-me-down, secondhand type stuff, or everything comes straight from the designer store, never been touched before. And Danes do a really good job of living right in the middle. So yeah, they write a big check for certain things, but then other things they'll buy at a flea market, or their kid will make it, or they'll pick it up in the forest.
Yeah, I know that we, a lot of times, like, people know a lot about the French, I was gonna say brocants, the flea markets, but the Danish Lopemarkel, this is their flea markets. They love them, and they have so many good ones. I have so many beautiful things that I found at the Danish flea markets.
And Danes are normally pretty passive, but they will call your eyes out for to get in these flea markets. They just go for it.
I used to go to one, and the lady, they would make us line up, because this was such a good, oh my gosh, it was this amazing flea market, and people would have to line up to get in. And on one week, I saw this lady, and no, it wasn't her arm, it was her leg. Her leg had been broken, and she's wobbling in, and some guy says, I wouldn't be the first person in line if I was you.
It's like Black Friday at Walmart.
Yeah, it really is.
Every time the local market would open.
Yeah, so people will literally run. I would take Haley with me, and she was little, and we would have to run to move forward so we wouldn't get plowed over. They loved
Good times. Good times, right?
We couldn't help it. There were such good prices and such cool things. And we had so much fun, and we'd come home every time we'd go, and we'd be like, look at what we got, oh my God.
Let me wipe the blood off this glass I bought.
We were literally walking through like this.
God, it was jammed in.
He wouldn't go, because there were so many people, and they were crammed in, and they loved their flea markets. So yeah, so I think that that's something that we just really... I can't help. If I see a garage sale sign, I have to stop. It's why I like to go to Goodwill and antique
And when she goes to get
markets.
mail, she runs over people, just in the spirit of Denmark.
We will go to a different city on vacation, and I will stop and go to the Goodwill, because I'm so sure there's going to be some cool treasure there. So that's thanks to the Danes.
Yeah.
Number 3 idea that you should absolutely be stealing from the Scandinavians is this idea that less is more. Maybe the Japanese are some of the other people that you would associate this with, but minimalism is a really big deal in Scandinavia. They really do value having less over more things, because they believe that the things that you have in your life, that they should really matter to you. And that little rock that your kid brought home, that having that is more valuable than billions of dollars worth of things, and spending time with your family is more important than working literally just your entire life. And yeah, you have a ton of stuff, but you have no life. So it's interesting the way that it all kind of
They play
ties
a long
together.
game. They have a long game with a lot of things. So maybe that's what happens when you ride your bicycle every day, is because you can't get anywhere in a rush. And they approach design the same way. So they will move in a house. They don't expect to have it decorated 3 days later.
Yeah.
It may take years to get to those spaces.
And they don't care.
And they don't care. They don't mind. This is the crazy thing I walked away with, is they don't mind leaving a space empty until they can do exactly what they want with it.
To Scandinavians, having less is not a sign of failure. I think that is the biggest takeaway you could ever take away from them, is that an empty space or something that isn't done isn't a sign of failure. It's just this present moment, and they celebrate the moment right there the way it is. One of our favorite things, we actually learned Danish. Don't ask me to speak it that well now.
She learned Danish.
That's true. I don't think you ever passed the test.
No, I passed just enough.
Yeah, so not that we can speak it that well after we've been gone for 4 years, but we actually studied Danish, and one of the words that people were always trying to teach us was the word hygge. And there have been so many books written on the word hygge since then, and it's just like a really big buzzword. And the reason why is because it's a feeling. It's not like, it doesn't have an exact translation. And even Danes struggle to define it. And to them, perfection or hygge, it's not a thing. It's the way that you feel about your space. And I can't sell you hygge. I can sell you a book about hygge, and I can sell you a book about finding perfection in life, but I can't actually sell you hygge because it's not for sale. It's not a thing. Perfection isn't found in the object. It's found in the moment with the object or with the people. It's a party where all of your friends are together and everybody's laughing really hard and the kids are running around, and it's this moment of perfection. It's a cup of coffee that's in this beautiful cup, and it's been hand painted by somebody in Denmark, and they've been doing this since the 1700s, and it's this perfect moment when the cup feels good in your hand and the coffee inside smells so good, and you take a drink of this and a bite of cake, and it's perfection. And that's what you want in your home. That's what you want in all of your house, is this feeling of perfection. That it's not perfect in the way that the world might define it, but it's perfect to you. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's the way that you feel in the space.
Yeah.
So I encourage people all the time, like, sit in the space. What does it feel like? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you listen to? All those things matter.
That's where the real magic lies in all of this. Is the perfect moments inside your home are not mathematical equations. They can't be designed. You can literally measure every single thing perfectly and put it all together just right, but in the end, it's the life that you breathe into them that is going to make them perfect. And I think you can bring in things that will enhance your experience, like the music that you listen to, what food you serve inside your space, what the cozy blankets, the all that kind of stuff that you feel good when you sit down in the furniture that is actually comfortable to sit in. It's the kind of space that you want to spend time in. Those are always the kind of questions that I'm actually asking my clients before we ever get to, okay, what kind of furniture do you like, and what kind of colors do you think you want? It's like, no, let's talk about the essence of what you want to feel in the space.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really cool.
Yeah, I do too. Definitely need to steal that one from the Scandies.
Yeah.
So the number 5 thing we think you should definitely take away and steal from Scandinavian design is that make the practical beautiful.
Yes.
There's definitely this focus on that, like I've never seen before.
Looking at this little magazine article, and we're like, oh my gosh, like they have their pots and pans out, and they have the mortar and pestle sitting out, and the olive oil, and I don't feel like we did this before. I feel like before we moved to Scandinavia, we had things that were decorations that were sitting out on the counter.
Yeah.
And then the olive oil and the everyday things were put away. And we pull them out.
Yeah, like we have a tendency to decorate with decor.
Yeah.
And then the things that we use in life, we build cabinets all throughout our house. Every room has a cabinet, and we hide everything in there.
Yeah.
That's a real big, I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
That we really do. So we have all these amazing items that we hide, and then we buy decor that we can show off. And Danes literally they
flip it on its head.
They don't even buy the decor.
No. They're very practical.
Yeah.
They are utilitarian in so many ways. It comes with, they're utilitarian, they're minimalist, and yet they want beauty all around them. And so if they're going to have to buy olive oil, it might as well come in a pretty bottle. If they're going to have to buy a serving piece to serve salad, it might as well be pretty. And the bowl that it goes in should be pretty.
And a water kettle for your tea, and toasters, all these things, there's an intentionality. So what they do, and I know sometimes we think, oh, that's super expensive. Actually, it's not because you're not buying the decor.
Yeah.
Now you're actually decorating with the things you use.
Yeah, and you'll use
That's
it
amazing.
over and over and over instead of having, you know, this Easter decoration that comes out and then that has to be switched out with like the Valentine's and then the 4th of July. And then, you know, it's like they're constantly, here I think a lot of people in the US are constantly changing out their decorative items.
Yeah.
Whereas in Denmark, they don't do it like that. They're just like, oh no, we're gonna buy something really great. We're gonna have open shelving because we bought pretty bowls that we eat out of every day.
Yeah.
Therefore, we will take the bowl down from that open shelf, eat out of it, and put it back up when we're done.
We had this friend one time, he's a photographer, and he had photography lights in his living room, and I told him, I was like, this is such a cool creative idea, and he said, cool creative idea, I use these. Like, I use them for lamps, and then I also use them for shoots. And I thought, oh, what a cool decorating idea. But for them, and again, they'll bring a bicycle in and hang it on the wall, but it's the bicycle they ride to the grocery store.
It really is.
So they've just done this amazing thing that I just find fascinating.
I literally decorate with the things that I use.
That's huge.
Does that make sense?
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like if there's anything like revolutionary about what you talked about today, it's this.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's amazing. And it's one of those things that when you see it, it just feels like magical because you're like, oh my God, look at their cutting boards. And you're like, yeah but they use them.
Somebody thought it was so weird. And I didn't even realize I was even doing this, okay? I decorate with my clothes. And it never occurred to me that that was weird because everybody in Denmark does that. They display their clothes, like their decorations. And apparently, I asked my mom, I was like, it occurred to me the other day that I don't see other people decorating with their clothes. And she's like, yeah, that was, I realized you were, I didn't understand why you were doing that, but then I saw how pretty it looked. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just one of those things. Like if you buy something beautiful, they decorate with their shoes, they decorate with their clothes, things that they surround themselves with every day. Like a necklace will get hung somewhere where it becomes decor because they think it's beautiful. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, again, it goes back to that thoughtfulness. Like there's just such a thoughtfulness in what they do, what they purchase.
Yeah.
That they don't need to duplicate purchase so they can hide it somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing that I think you can really take away from this.
Definitely.
So I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's just very hard for us to be concise about Scandinavia because we're very emotionally attached to it. But yeah, I've got some really fun stuff planned for this week that I hope we'll be able to execute. It's been a crazy busy weekend already, but I'm excited because I love Scandinavia. I can't wait to talk about it more, and I hope that you feel that way too. And tell us what you think. Like, are you enjoying this? Is it something new, something you've never heard of? Maybe we were the only ones that were clueless about Scandinavian design. Yeah. I don't know. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You guys know that we absolutely love it when you come by for a visit, and we always look forward to it. So we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Where everything is, sorry, the lights just turned on. Either everything is like vintage. Let's just turn them off.
Number 3, the things that we should be stealing from the Scandinavians is this idea that less is more. I'm sorry, I like oh, it's just a shadow. I was like, I thought I had like a, I was like, oh God,
oh my God, I have a wrinkle.
I like facial
when did that
hair.
come in? Facial hair, you don't have facial
well,
hair.
It looked like it in the video.
Oh.
Okay, so